Well, hello everyone. My name is Heidi Holmes. I'm the co-founder of Mentorloop, a leading software platform designed to help organizations run more scalable and accessible mentoring programs for their people and communities. Thank you for joining me today, where I'll be hosting Turnover Threat into Talent Triumph, designing a mentoring program that boosts employee engagement. But before I get started, I want to begin with an acknowledgement of country. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today on the call. So our agenda today is really focused on all things engagement. I will address some of the current macro challenges organisations are facing and then talk through some practical examples of how mentoring can be an effective tool in boosting employee engagement, as well as how to build a mentor program your people will love. So before we get into it, a bit of housekeeping. Obviously, we'll be recording today's session, which we will follow up with everyone after the call. You'll also, in that follow-up, get an extended deck, which will have access to links we reference throughout today's call with some of our most popular downloads. That will also help for those looking to start a mentor program in building the business case. I'd also like to acknowledge my colleague Grace from Mentorloop, who'll be joining me on today's call, who's going to be jumping in and managing some of the chat as question comes through, as well as helping out with some polls. So hello, Grace.
Thanks, Heidi. Hi, everyone. If you've got any questions throughout the session, please feel free to use the Q&A or the chat. I'll be managing that for you, making sure that we get to everyone's questions today.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I'll leave some time at the end for some Q&A as well. So hoping to wrap things up around 40 minutes. So let's see how we go here. So before we get into the detail, I just want to zoom out and take a macro look at what's driving a lot of the conversations that we're currently having with some of our customers at Mentorloop. And, you know, laddering up to that big topic of engagement, just wanted to call out this latest stat from Gallup, and that is that currently 77% of employees globally are not engaged in their workplace. And so, you know, in acknowledging where we're at, you know, we've got increased flexibility in the workplace and you know, the rise of accessible AI. You could argue that we kind of have conditions currently to support the most productive and engaged workforce that could ever have been. But disengagement continues to bite. So as we know, if employees don't feel a sense of connection, and that could either be to the company or the people or the purpose, then an unengaged workforce is going to make you less competitive, which ultimately impacts the bottom line. So engagement is obviously a very big topic. I wanted to call out a few reasons why people disengage that we're hearing from some of our customers in the Mentorloop community. And so bringing up a few here, obviously, as I sort of touched on, you know, not having a sense of purpose. If employees feel disconnected from the work and the company, they feel that what they do doesn't matter or it doesn't connect to that vision and mission, you know, they're not going to be motivated to do their best work. Poor leadership, when people feel unsupported, ignored, or not cared for by their leaders in the company, it becomes very demotivating. And whether we like it or not, we're in a place where people expect constant flow of feedback and a clear pathway to growth. And so this comes into, you know, that last point around communication and collaboration as well. And so no one is an island, but sometimes it can definitely feel like this for people, especially now with, you know, remote working. And particularly when we have new starters starting in that sort of environment as well. So what this research shows us is that it's not one single challenge. It's obviously multifaceted, which means it's likely impacting a majority of your employees in some way. So how do we actually combat this? Like, we don't need to overcomplicate things here. So at the end of the day, all your people want to do is what they're good at. And with people, when they're able to do what they're good at and they're able to feel like they're connected to a problem, And when they're in an environment where they can grow and make meaningful contributions, we're hopefully going to have more happy and engaged employees. So the good news, and this is where I loop it back to mentoring, mentoring can help us address all these things that people are looking for in terms of wanting to, feel engaged and motivated in the work they do. So often, we're having a conversation with people, they have an interest in mentoring, there might be mentoring sort of happening around the organization, or pockets of mentoring as we call it, but why do we need a formal mentor program? And I think it's interesting language to use, formal versus informal, but we'll sort of dive into that in a little bit more detail with the build. But, I think a fair question to ask is, why do I need to spend my time, creating this when it might already be happening? Why do I need to be spending money on this or additional resources? Can't people just organize themselves here? And so, yes, they can. But when left to happen organically, mentoring favors the bold. And that's talking to people that already have access to networks or that know how to navigate the mentoring conversation. So this approach, when we leave it to, those to organize themselves, potentially disadvantages other people in your organization. So that could be introverts, it could be those living in remote or regional cities, and it could also be new starters. So these people may have apprehensions in reaching out, or they just may lack even those networks to be able to make these connections themselves. And so they're missing out on these mentoring opportunities. When these are actually the group of people that we need to be looking to engage, we need to make sure that we're bringing people in off the sidelines if we're truly to have a holistic approach to employee engagement. So by formalizing a mentor program, you actually make it more accessible to more people rather than leaving it to chance. And so when thinking about the employee experience, organizations need to be designing and offering programs in this day and age that are relevant and beneficial to all. It can't just be special programs for special people or thinking about mentoring in terms of our hypos. Mentoring truly presents as one of the most cost-effective and scalable L&D initiatives you can offer your people. And so we know mentoring is not a new thing, and often feature within an organization's people or L&D strategy. And, there's this great stat around, 70% of Fortune 500 companies run mentoring programs. And so I just wanted to call out a small selection of also some of the amazing global brands we currently work with. And look, some of these organizations came to us looking for a way to modernize and scale their existing manually run program, as well as a section here like REA Group or NIB, who are starting from scratch and really wanting some assistance in, building those building blocks in building a mentoring culture as well. So thought this was an opportunity just to check in with the group here today to understand a little bit more about where you're at in your mentoring journey. So Grace, if you could bring up the poll, please. Keen to just understand what stage you're at in your mentoring life cycle. So could be, you're at, a very vanilla stage, just curious to learn more about what's involved in getting started. Or as I said, we've also got a lot of people that we work with that might have pockets of mentoring happening around the organization looking to bring that together. So we'll just give that a couple of minutes there. Thanks, Grace. So, yeah, pretty, a third across the group here today. So as I said, reflective of the conversations I often have with people coming to have a chat with us as well. So thanks for sharing that. We'll get into it. So just wanted to drill down and sort of lead with Ziff Davis case study here. So Ziff came to us, it was back in about 2020, wanting to build a culture of mentoring. So Ziff is a large, complex organization with numerous brands and people located globally around the world. but they really have nailed the rollout and execution of their program. And I think the reason has been that it's been so successful. It really has been pitched as an employee engagement initiative at all levels. So what they did really well specifically was they engaged their ERGs who are already connected into the employee base so they could get that bottoms up organic growth happening. But they also did a very good job at getting senior leadership to promote and talk about the benefits of mentoring. So a holistic, bottoms up, top down approach really set them up for success. And now it's one of their most active employee programs. So what's the mentoring? What's the recipe for mentoring success? I now want to take you through the journey of how we've actually helped these organizations, just like Ziff, build award-winning mentoring programs with Mentorloop. So we're going to spend the next 15 or so minutes going through the building blocks of how you actually design and build a mentoring program that your people love. So first up, some program prep. So, as the famous Simon Sinek said, start with why. This is really about understanding what is your program purpose or goal. Why are you running this program? What's the North Star? We often have people coming to us saying, from their engagement survey that they've run for their people, people want mentoring. And that's great. Mentoring is often something people love and like and link to, success. But it's important when running an organizational program that we think about what is the overall impact that we want to have here for the organization. So example goals may be like an increased sense of belonging, creating network opportunities, or helping to develop new skills or transfer knowledge. So for EDF Energy, it was as simple as creating cross-departmental connections. And they also wanted to achieve greater representation of females in taking up this people initiative as well. So they had some ways that they could then quantify the success and impact of this program, including measuring net promoter score there. But being able to measure the positive, impactful outcomes here obviously ladders up to creating happy, engaged workers as well. So next, after we've sort of identified our North Star or our goal, we need to think and decide what is the type of program we want to run. So we kind of refer to this as recruitment style at Mentorloop. And basically there are two options. There's our always on, that we've got AECOM and John Holland here as an example, as well as cohorts, and some example of our customers running these two very different style programs, but both successful in their own way. So starting with always on, it really says what's on the tin. It's no specific enrollment periods. It's running all year round, and participants can essentially sign up, find a match, and begin their mentoring journey at any point in the year. It's always on, always accessible. So this is really good for organizations that may be looking to empower their people to take control and self-drive their own mentoring journey, and also lends itself well to just-in-time or what we call as flash mentoring. So those that might be looking to connect with specific knowledge within the business at a point in time. And so it may be that, you've been asked to present a paper to the board. You've never done that before. Who in the organization has this expertise that I can connect with quickly? So really helps facilitate those just-in-time connections. Whereas cohorts, I would sort of say, would align with how people have traditionally run mentor programs, and that is that there's a start and an end date. And so it's a cohort of people that are joining at the same time and generally sort of progressing across milestones in a journey together. So programs open applications at a set time. They might close off applications. They're matching everyone at the same time. And as I said, it might run for a period of, say, 6 or 12 months. So companies running this type of program might be doing it this way because they want to align it back to their performance review cycle, but also works well when you might have a specific actual cohort of people coming into the business. And so a great example, and one that ARUP uses this style for, is graduate recruitment. So obviously they have a very specific start date in joining the organization. And this is where we can also think about mentoring not necessarily having to be so hierarchical. So it could just be connecting people with a little bit ahead of them in their journey. And so this is where the graduate example is new graduates being connected with maybe second or third year graduates in more of a peer-to-peer type mentoring relationship, kind of replacing that buddy system approach. So yeah, two examples of different ways to run your program. Really comes down to that overarching objective and what you're trying to achieve and how that might work best in your organization. So getting into a bit more detail about the build and also launch of your program. Look, we always say at Mentorloop, still our biggest competitor to date is spreadsheets and emails. So we sort of use as a bit of a benchmark, less than 20 people in your program, you can probably get away with running that sort of manually. But once you get over 20 people, the admin burden, is really present. And so in this next section, we'll cover off how we actually reduce that admin burden, as well as help you make quality connections, set your participants up for success, and then how we report and measure on ROI. So at a baseline, as we've touched on, we seek to address that admin burden. And it's actually, was the catalyst for Lucy and I starting Mentorloop some 8 years ago. We recognized that often the admin burden was getting in the way of people being able to scale their program. So by reducing the admin burden with a platform like Mentorloop, we can offer mentoring to more people and in turn improve the quality of the mentoring experience while increasing that organizational impact. So this is a little time comparison calculator that we actually have available on our website. So you're welcome to go and have a play around with that as well. But as you can see, really in terms of that admin burden, no one has a dedicated mentor program coordinator in their company. It's always something that gets tacked on to somebody else's job. So this is where Mentorloop really presents as a time-saving tool for you as well. So we have got some different package options available with Mentorloop, supporting, non-for-profit customers and community-run programs we work with, right up to, big small business through to big enterprise as well. So today, given the audience, we're going to be focusing on our enterprise package in terms of the corporate landscape. And, with this package, we're really taking into consideration, the complexity that corporates often have and are looking for in a tool as well. So there's that desire for customization, often looking for, support and guidance, as well as being able to integrate to provide a single source of truth with systems and tools and data that you're already utilizing. So we're going to cover all of this and how we provide a seamless user experience. So next up, we need to consider how we want to match people. So we've decided this is the style of program we're running. We need to be thinking about what are the attributes that we want to be able to match people on. This is obviously quite a broad list here, but at Mentorloop, we really place an emphasis on focusing on goals and skills being the driving force of the match. And obviously, this is especially important when you're thinking about mentoring as an L&D initiative. However, we can also add some secondary criteria to help achieve broader organizational goals when we think about matching to and the connections we're making. So that may be facilitating connections across different departments, as in the Ziff example, or locations, or even bringing a DE&I lens to the match. Ultimately, we want to make sure connections are aligned to the goal that we've set for the company here. And look, at Mentorloop, we often say as well, rather, we're here not to make the obvious connection, we're here to make the unlikely connection. And I think that's really the value in how we think about some of the attributes we might want to bring into the matching formula. So on that, I just want to spend a little bit of time deep diving into matching, because it is something that we often get a lot of questions about from our customers. So we do offer different styles and methodologies around matching. And that's just in recognition that different sizes, types of programs require different ways of doing something. And so we've got that flexibility in the tool to be able to meet different ways that people want to be able to run their program. However, for a larger enterprise program, you would see most of our customers taking advantage of our smart match algorithm, which uses a data-driven approach to help all of your people find a great quality equal match. And so using a data-driven approach not only removes the unconscious bias that can come into matching, but it also reduces the pressure on you on having to find people a great match. And what makes the Mentorloop matching algorithm unique is our equitable approach to matching. So what we do is we take a global score across the cohort instead of a rank and file approach, which can degrade the matching quality as you move through a list. So this global approach ensures that everyone gets an equal quality match and is really backed up by our current match satisfaction rate of 96% across our programs. So we still do have other ways of matching people that have their place. So there's self-match, obviously allowing people to find their own connections, and also the manual match tool is available where people in smaller programs might want to have kind of more of that admin control or need to fine-tune some matches around the edges as people might join programs late. So other tools to also complement this smart match algorithm. So now we've selected our match style, we need to think about what inputs we want to match people on. And this feeds into the sign up form. So as we sort of touched on, thinking about skills, goals, those types of things, this is where we're actually providing, a framework to work within, but obviously a customizable sign up form, again, to meet different program needs. And here's an example with one of our customers, EDF, on just how they've set up their form and made some of those customizations. So you can see here around business unit, they've added their specific business units, and that's because they want to be able to connect people, yes, with goals and skills alignment, but let's not match people from the same business unit. Let's get cross-company connections happening here. And you can also see we've got some diversity related questions popped in here as well. And just want to call out that the little indicator there of the crossed out eye is, there may be a need to want to collect additional data inputs that may help with providing a better picture of demographics within your cohort. It also might be data that you want to use for matching purposes, but we might want to acknowledge that it's sensitive or it may be private to individuals. So we can collect data and use it for matching purposes, but have it hidden from profile fields as well. An often forgotten but very important step, now we've designed and kind of got the program ready to launch, is actually thinking about the pre-launch comms and marketing of your program. It's often forgotten, but a very important step, because making the investment up front in getting your people excited and informed about what this program is all about really sets it up for success. So if you have a marketing or a communications team, this might be a good point to get them involved, where they can help you with sort of crafting appropriate comms that educate and excite people on the benefits of signing up to your program. But this is where I'd also like to call out our amazing team of mentoring specialists. So with Mentorloop, you'll still get that account management support. And this is where they'll really be able to help guide you, not only in that setup of your program, but also sharing best practice in terms of your launch and comms. And we also have assets to back this up. So a customer media kit, which includes some social media tiles and webinar toolkits to help you with that launch piece. And I'll just also sort of add here, you can see an example again here from Ziff. If you can manage it, a message from your CEO or a senior leadership is also a great way to announce the program and show your members that this is a program that your leaders are invested in, and creates a bit of that FOMO as well. So we've been talking today about obviously deploying mentoring as an employee engagement tactic. So it's important that we make sure that your participants have an engaging and rewarding experience here. So our approach at Mentorloop is we never want to get in the way of mentoring. We are definitely not compliance software. We are here to help people find a great quality match, set them up for success, and ensure they have a productive and engaging experience. So now we're going to talk through how we support people in that mentoring journey, making them feel supported and motivated. And so it's important to sort of call out here that mentoring is not a linear journey. Your participants are not doing the same thing at the same time as they progress through your mentor program. So if you're not communicating and interacting with your participants in the context of their mentoring journey, it's not going to be a very engaging experience. And so this is where we've spent a lot of time in thinking about that participant experience coming through not just the natural flow of a mentoring relationship, but how that experience plays out in Mentorloop. And so how we help support, guide, and keep people on track, it's through a combination of milestones and nudges. So milestones provide the roadmap to success. They're guiding mentees and mentors through the critical phases of a mentoring relationship. So this is from, getting to that critical first point of the first meeting, through to growing together, and then closing out the loop with self-reflection and the option to either rematch or even graduate from mentee to mentor. And this journey is then supported by our nudges. So this is curated content that is pushed out to both mentees and mentors, setting them up for success with really tactical resources as well as training and onboarding materials. It's our job at Mentorloop to make sure people feel confident and equipped in their role as mentee and mentor. So these nudges direct people back to our Help Hub, which I really think is what sets us apart from a lot of our competitors. Our Help Hub and Academy are best in class with over 1,000 pieces of content that are updated on a regular basis by our mentoring specialists. So we generate all our own content. This is our IP. And we've recently launched our Mentorloop Academy, which really is that more in-depth participant training. So this is where we have bite-sized videos that your people can access at their leisure. And so they can really be the best version of themselves and upskill in, that lifelong skill, which is being an effective mentee or mentor as well. So another layer to content and resources, obviously with Mentorloop, you're getting that, that mentoring related content, that thought leadership that relates to that. But what we hear again and again from our customers is the need to bring greater visibility to learning resources or platforms or tools that you might already have or be paying for. So, LinkedIn Learning is a great example, or a Go One, where we hear, you've got access to these, plethora of learning resources. You want to be constantly reminding your people about, these other great tools that you have. So Mentorloop becomes another place where you can remind and surface these resources for better utilization. So you can upload resources to your own recommended reading. You can update this on a regular basis and sort of blend in your own content into, that Mentorloop flow as well. While an individual's journey is important, we also place an emphasis on fostering a sense of belonging to a wider community. So this is where we've got some features that we'll touch on in terms of how we do that. One being our highlights feature, which will provide motivating insights into what else is happening in the program, from who's recently been matched. Somebody may have joined a group loop. It's all designed to motivate and bring awareness about the wider success of the program to your people. So the philosophy behind this is really around, if you're having a good time and I'm having a good time, it creates a sense of belonging and motivation, and really, people valuing the opportunity to be a part of the program. So I've touched on this a couple of times, but we're definitely not here to be another communication platform or tracking platform. People don't need another layer of complexity to their lives at work. We're really here to add value to the participant journey through helping them find a great match and the resources, but also fitting in with the tools that people are already using in their ecosystem. And that's to come back to this design philosophy that we have, or we never want to get in the way of mentoring. So we have some various out-of-the-box and custom integrations. So, that could be around integrating with your CRM. So, Salesforce would be an example of that, through comms tools such as Outlook, Gmail, Slack, and obviously Microsoft Teams is a big one, as well as providing integrations back into HRIS, so you can track some of those more people analytics of who might, who's participated in the mentoring program. as well as calendars. So I want to call out the calendar feature in particular because it goes beyond simply kind of that flat file calendar integration. How we think about calendars is in the scope of with mentoring, it's really important that you're setting up those reoccurring meetings and making time for it. So this is what we refer to as our calendar integration, is actually kind of more of a scheduling tool where individuals can block out time specifically for mentoring and easily share that with their mentee and their mentor. So these integrations combined, with that user-friendly and engaging interface make for a really simple solution to implement. So we're not talking about long implementation timelines here. We can help our customers get set up really within a 5 to sort of 10-day window here, depending on, time response from on the customer side. But yeah, a simple system to get set up and running. So we know with tightening budgets and more expectations around, doing things that have data-driven insights, we know the need to be able to show our customers the tangible benefits of their mentoring program, and we do this in real time. So when you're running a program manually, this actually becomes a big challenge. You lose visibility of what's happening post-match very quickly. With Mentorloop, we're tracking participant experience from sign up to completion. So what you have within the tool is a live interactive dashboard, which enables you to spot check your program's health in real time. And this gives you an insight on where individuals are at in their journey, and so allows for you to be able to be more efficient in your time, identifying where you might need to intervene and help someone, and also where you don't. But I wanted to also call out here that at the end of the day, we're dealing with human connections. So I think it only makes sense that we need to bring some of that human back into our reporting as well. And so that's why we place an emphasis on collecting that qualitative data in addition to the quantitative data as well. So we call this our sentiment analysis feedback system, and it is a system. It provides feedback from a participant's journey from the start, middle, and end of the mentoring relationship, giving us a 360-degree view on participant satisfaction and outcomes being achieved. So our customers love this because it provides for really tangible, impactful statements that validate the success of your program, but it can also be used for marketing purposes. Sharing mentoring stories is a great way of getting the next cohort of people excited to sign up and join the program. So we want this to be, not just a productive experience for your people, but also a fun and rewarding one. And so this is where we've got this layer of social integrations with LinkedIn that allow your participants to share magic moments with their peers and colleagues to their LinkedIn profile. So this is great for your employer branding and fostering a sense of community and belonging. Again, all things that ladder up to more engaged, happy employees. We'll also reward your participants with a LinkedIn mentoring certification badge at the end of their journey, which obviously keeps them motivated while also providing a natural end point to their relationship, which is important too. So as you can see, it really is a reporting robust system. We go beyond merely just giving you raw data, in Excel format, to helping you tell a story about tangible impact that will be easy for your business leaders to quantify and also feel proud of. And that's honestly the truth. And that's why we often see Mentorloop impact data being referenced in company board reports. It really does provide the good news story leaders are often looking for. So that is the mentoring flywheel. It's a system we've designed to not only help people get started, but also set up a sustainable and impactful program that really helps organizations build a culture of mentoring for their people. It's a system that works, and why we've also recently been awarded the leader in the mentoring software category by G2, which we're super proud of. So thank you all for taking the time to join today, take time out of your day to dial in. I hope you've found today's session useful, and now like to open it up to any questions.
So while we're waiting for people to type in their questions in the Q&A or the chat, I've got one here, Heidi. What are the pros and cons to the two participant intake / recruitment styles? The always on and the cohorts that we've talked about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't know if they're necessarily cons. I think it really comes down to your organizational objectives and preferences. I think they don't actually have to be sort of mutually exclusive either. Like what I think we've seen work really nicely with some of our customers is that they might have started, with kind of the cohort-based approach as a way to get a pilot up and running for 12 months, be very intentional about, getting people into the program and kind of building that critical mass. And then at that point, switching over to, the always on. And I think the advantage of, the always on is that it aligns to being super useful for employees, because if I'm a new starter and I join in June and I want access to mentoring with a cohort program, I might have to wait 6 months before I can join the program. As opposed to an always on, I can join that program when it suits me. So I think, that evolution of potentially even starting with cohort and then evolving to, the always on is a pathway that we've seen work really nicely with some of our customers as well.
We've got another one here from Andrew. Will this be suitable for a third-party mentoring program, he asks.
So I'm not sure if I understand that one properly. Grace, have you got a take on that in terms of third party?
I assume this would mean something like you're probably trying to get mentors and mentees, not necessarily in one organization, but you're holding,
cross communities. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. So we work with a lot of community-based programs and industry associations. So Mentorloop can be deployed obviously in the context of, Woolworths running an internal mentor program for their people. But we can also facilitate like cross-company type mentoring programs as well. So it really is up to the customer to define who do you want to invite into your program. So that could be people from your organization. It could be a way to invite alumni and keep them connected to your company. So Mentorloop's actually going to make it easier for you to be able to bring in different people to your program where that may not necessarily be from the same company as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Heidi. And Andrew did say that is correct.
Great.
That's what he meant. Yeah. So one here from Maria. She says, thank you so much, Heidi. Curious to know more about matching. You mentioned global scale versus rank and file. Could you please expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about rank and file, I think, it's how some of those traditional dating apps, I guess, have played the matching game. And that is, what we have is a situation where somebody signs up to a program and, they come into the match, and because they were first in, if we're running an algorithm at that point, they're going to get kind of the best quality match that's available to them. And so then the next person that comes in is going to get the next best quality match. And so what happens then is you're allocating kind of matches based on order of coming into a program. And so the matching actually degrades over time for the individuals that may be coming in at a different point in time. So what we like to do at Mentorloop is think about this in terms of a global score across your program, where we're actually thinking about how we kind of smooth out the quality of connections. So the reality is whether someone's like a 96% match or a 90% match, that's not the only thing that sets people up for success in terms of a great mentoring experience. What sets people up for success is having, yes, a great match. So that's good alignment on goals and skills and the outcomes we want to achieve. But then also that post-match experience, setting people up in terms of how to be an effective mentee, how to be an effective mentor, and making sure they're getting to, those milestones around creating momentum in the relationship. So at Mentorloop, our approach is really about how we think about ensuring everyone gets an equal quality match rather than degrading that match quality based on, entry point into the program.
Thanks, Heidi. I think that's it for questions today.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for, as I said, dialing in today. I hope you found this session useful. We'll be following up shortly with some additional resources, and feel free to connect with me via heidi@mentorloop.com, or check out the resources via our website. But happy to set up additional conversations and deep dive specifically on the product if anyone is open to that. So enjoy the rest of your day and look forward to hopefully connecting with a few of you over the next few weeks. Thank you.